I'm gonna tell you the subconscious thing that nearly all sellers do that doesn't work. Okay, so we're talking about price anchoring. Now, if you've never heard of price anchoring, here's how it works for a seller. They think about their home and then they think about the most expensive home that has sold. Now, sometimes it's a week ago, most of the time it was 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. And they align with that home and say, hey, my home is so much like that. So if that home sold for that price, I should sell for that price. But they completely ignore all the other sales around them. So it is super important when you're pricing your home that you are looking at the current market. Now, the reason I say the current market, that's your last 3 to 6 months. Now, this is super important because maybe interest rates have changed, time of year has changed, different things that are impacting buyer behavior. For example, when the interest rates were 3%, you could not stop selling homes. Every buyer wanted to buy a home. But when they jumped up to 8% at the end of 2023 and into 2024, or even 7%, buyers all of a sudden were like, whoa, my payments just jumped by $200 or $300. I'm out. I'm not gonna buy a home right now. So we saw a huge change in what buyers were willing to pay and what they were asking sellers for. So all of a sudden, sellers had to change their expectation. They went from super high offers and not paying closing costs and not making repairs to taking lower offers and paying closing costs and doing repairs. So to prepare yourself for that, you have to look at what's happening. So I have an example of this. I had a client, they just went to list their home recently. And a year ago, homes were selling for $20,000 higher. But here's the story of this neighborhood. A builder had come in and built their home and several others. They've been there, let's say 2 to 3 years, and the new phase really hadn't started yet. Well, in the last year and a half, they've started building in that new phase. So what started happening last year is they kind of hit the height of their sales. Their neighbor who had a home very similar to theirs sold for $20,000 more, okay, than homes are selling for now. But then what happened is the builder started selling and they started offering crazy incentives. They were still selling at the same price, but then they were offering like $30,000 off the purchase price and giving them 3% interest rates and all these things. So what happened is these homes that were 2 and 3 years old that were coming on the market, they couldn't compete with all the awesome things that builders were offering, so they had to start lowering their prices. That's how they pulled buyers back to buying their homes. So incidentally, what happened is that price, that top price for that home, started to go down. So when my clients are ready to sell their home, of course, they were price anchoring at first. Everybody does. And they were remembering the sale from a year ago. But I had to talk to them about the market as a whole and the fact that when we look back, you'll see that they sold for $20,000 higher than what values are today. But then even after that, it was 15, it was 10, and then we eventually got to where we were today. And when they were questioning if that was really the value, I said, okay, well, this is the price we're thinking of. Your neighbor right across the street has basically the same home. They're $10,000 higher, and they've been sitting on the market for almost 3 months, no offers. So the buying market is already telling us they're not willing to pay that. So we could try that, but I believe that if we're priced here, we're going to capture the highest paying buyer in the shortest period of time, which is always the best for a seller. So they took my advice, we did it. Sure enough, we're under contract. And all 6 of the other homes that were priced just a little bit higher are still on the market and haven't sold yet. So beware of price anchoring, consider the current market you're in, and unless you're in a market right now that was exactly like this 6 months ago or a year ago, don't hold on to those prices. You might be higher, you might be lower, but get your agent to do their research and make a decision from there.